Hey guys, real quick, before we get into it, do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. That way, you don't miss out on any of the tea. Thanks. You want to talk about politics?
I love talking about politics.
Yeah, this was definitely the origin of our podcast.
Yes.
I think we've talked about this a few times, right? You and I for years have been political junkies, and we're like, well, how about we just finally put this out
there.
The universe? So this is gonna be a great topic. So Etosha and I, every year, we are diligent followers of the Louisiana Legislative Session,
yes,
which is about to begin soon.
Yeah.
And it's always a roller coaster of 3 to 4 months of what on earth are the bills
happening here.
Right. And like when the session starts, we're like, did you see this bill? Did you see this one? What is this debate about? And it's going to be interesting.
Yes, very.
I have not yet seen, I don't know if you had pre-filed bills, so I'm not even really sure
I know
some of the early things.
I thought the deadline for pre-filing was maybe like in January, or that's when things started. I haven't seen a whole lot.
Either, which is interesting.
But we're going to get into some things that we know for sure will probably be on deck.
Yes.
Some things we maybe hope will be on deck. But yeah, I think this will be a good kind of maybe like crystal ball episode.
Ooh, crystal ball. Okay, cool.
Or is it a like cautionary
episode? It's gonna be both, depending on which bill you want to refer to, I guess. But every year the state does their legislative session, and every year, actually, I need you to help me on this one. Every other year can only be financial bills, right? Isn't that how that works? Like, in terms of the types of bills?
I don't know.
No, okay, so don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. But nonetheless, we are anticipating some good bills and some bad bills.
Yeah.
So I want to start by asking you, what are some bills that so I want to break it down to 3. It's bills that you want to see, mm-hmm. bills you don't but know inevitably will happen.
Yes.
Actually, let's just do those 2. Okay. So I want bills you want to see and bills you're like, I know they're going to do this and I'm so not interested.
Okay, so let's start. We'll end on a high note.
Okay, we'll end on.
So
let's
start with things that I know we will probably see, and I'm like, I don't want to see it. For sure, the Constitutional Convention is coming back.
Oh, I forgot about that.
That's gonna come back. That is one.
Give some context about the Constitutional Convention.
Yeah, so we discussed this in our last big episode where we kind of unpacked the legislative session, and one of the things that Governor Landry was trying to do was convene a constitutional convention to potentially rewrite the current state constitution. If I remember correctly, we have the longest,
you are
like one of the longest.
It is obnoxiously long.
State constitutions in the country, and so this was kind of presented under the guise of it is exceptionally long, it's exceptionally outdated. We really need to take this opportunity to revisit this. Mm-hmm. Pare this down, remove extraneous things, and sort of like modernize and revitalize our state constitution, which I don't think is inherently.
I was about to say, so look, don't get me wrong.
I don't think that is inherently a bad thing. I'm not against the idea that we probably do need to take a look at this document.
However,
what was of concern previously was the time frame in which they were trying to have this happen. Let's convene in the summer and in June, and by August we'll have a new constitution. It's like, no, that's not happening. You can't tell me that this is the longest state constitution in the country and then also tell me you guys have the ability to rewrite it in 90 days. Right. That's wild.
That is wild.
I also, am of the mind day after day as, we're kind of looking at what's happening in our state. Is our state constitution obnoxiously long? Possibly, probably, maybe, yeah. Is that of biggest priority though? I don't know, so it's one of those things that I feel was really high on the governor's agenda. I don't think that he's completely forgotten about this. So I definitely think it's something that we will see again. I hope we don't, but I think we will.
Yeah. All right, my turn. I know we're gonna see some of it. I don't know specifically which ones, but there will be some culture war bills.
Oh, 100%.
What are two that you anticipate fully?
Ooh, I'm very intrigued to see what, if any, like explicit DEI rollback. And I use the quotations on that one, DEI rollbacks that we might see.
Like at
Particularly,
colleges or
that's what I was going to say, particularly targeting institutions of higher education. We have already seen, even though we didn't like do an episode on this, if you're following the news in Louisiana, you've already seen that the governor has gotten very involved with some of the goings-ons at Louisiana State University. And so I think it would be really interesting to see what, if any, bills kind of end up going down this, like we're trying to roll back DEI or we're trying to protect, from the wokeness or whatever. Right. The other thing that I know for sure will pop up and sort of kind of
it's so cringy, like we're both like,
stuff. We've seen on the federal level the president, going around and renaming things after himself. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's a legislator from Plaquemines Parish.
What?
Has already proposed naming a new bridge.
Don't.
After the president, which
which bridge? In Belchase?
No. It's I think they're building a new bridge over the Mississippi River, and they want to name it. They want to name it after. Maybe they're not in Plaquemines Parish; they're in Plaquemines, Louisiana. That's what it is. That's what it is. He's from Plaquemines, Louisiana, and wants to name the bridge after the president. So I think we'll see. I think we'll see some of that. I also like personal investment. I'm very interested to see what kind of language sorts of bills start to bubble up. So, we're seeing some things where it's like, again, on a federal level of this has to be in English, right? The federal government no longer providing, certain websites or services in Spanish. And so I would be very intrigued to see what, if any, bills in our current session come up around governmental services can only be in English, street signs can only be in English, those sorts of things, just because we do have so many communities, especially here in South Louisiana, that are kind of making that shift towards bilingualism, right? And really trying to work on revitalizing French in their communities. And so are we going to have a rub where we're seeing our legislators leaning into more of what we're seeing from a cultural standpoint at the federal level, and how that rubs up against cultural initiatives here in Louisiana?
As we're speaking, I just thought I did actually read an article yesterday. I don't know who filed this bill, but there is a bill filed to penalize people who cross sidewalks looking at their phone.
Like pedestrians?
So, yes.
Okay.
It's like you're in the CBD and you're like, that would be illegal under this bill. I know. I don't. Right. I'll let you do with that what you will. It's like we have all these issues, right? And we're going to focus on that.
Well, also, too, like...
Is that what we're doing?
The resources to enforce that.
And that was my next question. Like, come on.
The absolute just, like... we live in a state where we already have such poor pedestrian and non-automotive infrastructure, like whole stretches where there are no sidewalks for people to even walk. And instead of writing legislation to rectify inaccessibility, we're instead focused on that, like, people are looking at their phones, which, like, yes, that is very unsafe. It absolutely drives me crazy when I see people doing that. I also am like, that's a waste of time that we're working on legislating that.
Exactly. Beyond the culture stuff, and the culture stuff is interesting because if you kind of use the pandemic as your base point, this would be 6 years now of cultural bills. It's like, have we not exhausted at this point?
Are you not tired yet?
Are we not tired yet? I will say this, as a professor, I am anxious to see if there will be any bills in terms of restricting programs of study. Maybe, Florida banned sociology as part of their core curriculum.
Yeah.
The elimination of like gender studies programs or any woke liberal whatever major you want to think about. So I am curious about that, which is unfortunate that I have to focus on that, because I would rather focus on bills to like increase pay for professors, or like fixing like I would rather see those types of bills.
Things,
but no, I have to be.
How are we growing
on,
and expanding, not contracting?
But like, okay, cool. So we're gonna focus on this, which is frustrating. But it will be interesting to see, like, 6 years in, how many more culture bills are they actually going to like try and like tackle here,
shove down our throats. Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. I am going to keep an eye on very closely on any and all insurance bills, whether that's automotive or home insurance. I know you wanted to say we ended on a high note, but I do anticipate bills regarding the fortified roof program, because that has proved immensely popular, bipartisan, effective.
Yes.
The demand is very high.
Much so there.
I even saw that the governor has asked, I can't think of I think it's Citizens United maybe, to pitch in. So I think that is actually one good thing for the state, is year by year realizing this is a structural solution to something.
To how
So I really hope that they kind of put their efforts into that. But that's just so frustrating. Like, if we put our minds together and like focus on that good stuff.
Yeah. Or just stuff that is actually critically broken, right? I mean, the situation with the expense of insurance here is like universally felt across every citizen of this state.
Great point.
And there's been no relief, right? And we can't control the weather, right? Like, as much as certain people may
that's a whole nother topic.
Have you believe that? So we know storms are coming. This is going to be an issue. How are we supporting mitigation efforts? And then how are we ensuring that insurance companies are responding to those mitigation efforts with a decrease in price? Like, those things need to work in tandem. So I 100% agree. Like, legislation around that is absolutely something I'm hoping to see. I would say one other area that I am certain will come up that I don't want to see is more of the how are we funneling public funds to private schools through these like voucher programs or savings account.
So what do you think is going to go into that? Because we've seen pushback from the Senate in particular.
We've seen quite a bit of pushback from the Senate. Again, I'm not convinced that anything is going to pass in that regard. I absolutely think we will see some House bills on this front. And I think what is particularly frustrating about that is, we've kind of talked about, on a more micro level, public schools and the charter system here in New Orleans. I think direct investment in K through 12 public education and reinforcing our support of K through 12 public education is so critically important to the state. When we talk downstream about what's happening in our universities, what is, how do we rectify brain drain? And it's like, we start in kindergarten, right? And if we're not starting at that foundational level, like we can't expect anything different long term. And so kind of having this focus on, well, instead of like putting resources back into public education, what we're really going to focus on is how we siphon it away and send kids to private school is very frustrating to me. But again, it's one of those things that I think has been sort of kind of a passion project, so to speak, of the governor. Like, he's really behind it, and he's really a proponent of it. And we have definitely seen that the House absolutely kind of falls more in line with his initiatives and his agenda, and the Senate is where we see a lot of that pushback. Overwhelmingly, Louisiana is still a very rural state, and there are a lot of rural communities where like the public school is the school,
right? And
to destabilize that structure even more, I think, is such a like like a slap in the face to the people of Louisiana. And so, again, I'm not necessarily convinced we're going to see something pass in that regard, because I do think there are still quite a few people in our legislature who realize the impact that this would have, the negative impact that this would have on their constituents, and they are doing the work that they should be, which is acting in the best interest of their constituents and pushing back on this. But I do think we'll see some bills around that.
It is interesting because other states have moved so quickly on that. In Louisiana, we've been hesitant. And that's actually unexpected, because we would not expect that. But we've seen a level of pushback that has caught me off guard.
Yeah.
So that'll be an interesting bill to keep.
Yeah, I mean, in a dream world, we are forging a new path with regards to public education and how we are supporting the young minds of our state. I don't foresee that like anytime in the near future that Louisiana is on the like forefront of something like that. But I think that would be something that would be absolutely like game changing for our state if we were to put that effort in our public education.
But instead, we're getting bills to increase funding for our prison systems, which are two bills already.
We are the most carceral state on the planet.
So I read a bill. The governor is requesting, I think, an $82 million increase for the incarceration system in the state. And then that's separate from another increase he's requesting for juvenile.
Yeah.
Which we already increased it with that special session, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And it's already, the cost has exploded, right? So it is frustrating that we constantly funnel money into that rather than preventative or early childhood education or, anything of that nature. So no, those are the frustrating bills. So let's end with like good bills that you think might happen and or ideal bills that you really wish we would see. Because I have an ideal bill, but I want to hear yours.
I don't know how much of a quote unquote good bill this is, but it is something I definitely hope to see happen. And that's legislation around data centers.
Ooh, like what? Tell me.
So for sure, I think that there needs to be restrictions on the proximity to residential areas for data centers. I think that we need to be doing assessments on environmental impact, on impact to power grid structure. There's so much that I think has not been assessed with relation to these data centers, because people just see the opportunity of like, we're going to build and like, OpenAI or Amazon or Google or whatever big name AI entity is going to come and, set up shop here, and it's going to be this tax revenue and all the things. And it's like, okay, but what is the long-term impact, right? And even with the AI of it all, it's like we see every day how much money these companies are actually losing. This has not been profitable endeavors. 10 years down the line, when the AI landscape shifts dramatically, what are we doing with these massive data centers that you've built, that you've let, vampires suck all the energy from the surrounding community, and then like it's empty now because whatever entity came here and set up didn't survive the AI bubble. So I definitely think I don't have a ton of faith that there's going to be restrictions put into place. We've seen here locally in New Orleans, City Council kind of being like, we're not just going to let you guys build data centers willy-nilly. But when you kind of look at the state more broadly and a lot of the initiatives around, warehouses for Amazon and data centers for Amazon and other parts of the state, I definitely think that there's less resistance. And it does worry me because we don't know the long term. We know some of the acute short-term impacts that we should be protecting constituents from. And also we don't know the long-term impacts of this. So in an ideal world, we're seeing legislation that is coming into effect that is forcing environmental studies before these things can be built, restricting proximity to communities and schools, Is it going to happen? I don't know.
Yeah, it's happening so quickly, right?
Yeah.
It's still so novel. So even the bills themselves will be, they're crafting something that's not yet. There's no precedent, right? So it'll be just seeing the bills. All right, I'll tell you my ideal. It's not going to happen, and I every year wish it would happen, and I'm still going to wish it's going to happen. I would love to see a bill that is passed to raise the state minimum wage.
Oh, yeah.
There's been a bill introduced every year, fun fact, since 2008 to increase every year. Since 2008, every year, it's killed.
It's killed.
So it's still $7.25 an hour.
So
I would love that bill. I know it's not going to happen, but man, I get so envious when I see other states passing bills raising their state minimum wage. It's like, I wish that was us.
So how would you see us funding that? Because we have the highest sales tax in the nation right now, right? So where?
I don't know.
Where will we get that? Yeah, because I agree. I think we should, but my concern would be.
We misprioritize what we want to do in this state, right? It's allocating money for that by taking away money from things that, are silly.
So pay for increased minimum wage rather than prisons.
Exactly. Right? But a boy can wish, I guess.
You can dream.
I can dream. But that's always and I know that there's always one or two legislators, particularly the few progressives that we have that introduce that bill and fight fiercely for it, knowing that they're climbing a hard obstacle here. But that's my ideal bill. That's my ideal bill every year. So
let's hope.
But
we will keep an eye out.
So,
yes,
right?
we will.
Legislative session is coming up. We're going to keep an eye on it and obviously update y'all on kind of the more big bills that will impact the state in significant ways. But in the meantime, you can find us on all social media, Instagram, TikTok. We're on Patreon. You get access to the episodes a little bit earlier. We also do a new weekly news digest that kind of a summary of headlines that we've been paying attention to for the previous week. And as always, if you have topics you're interested in, we definitely look at those comments and we incorporate that into our list of topics that we want to talk about in future episodes. So we appreciate y'all, and until next time.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. See you later.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Pelican Briefs.
If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
If you are loving the show, you can help us keep the conversation going by supporting us on Patreon.
Your contribution on Patreon ensures we can continue producing quality content you love.
Click the link in the description to become a patron today.
Until next time, this is Pelican Briefs.